The story unfolded with whispers of an intriguing rumor. There was said to be a man whose very existence struck terror into the hearts of the world's most formidable armed groups. The astonishing twist was that this feared individual was an elderly man in his 60s, a killer of unparalleled skill and a living legend. Yet, his life had taken a tragic turn. He had once stood untouchable, his legacy secure, but now he found himself hunted by thousands of killers. Lying injured, a man recounted the downfall of this legend. The man lamented that if the legendary figure had died during his prime, he would have been remembered as an invincible hero. Instead, he had lost everything: his wealth, his reputation, and even the loyalty of the organization he had served faithfully for 50 years. Now, he was a target, betrayed by those who once revered him. The injured man turned to the suited figure before him, a masked individual holding a gun, and asked, almost in disbelief, if he was truly the Peter of legend. Peter, shrouded in mystery, stood calm despite the ominous circumstances. The injured man questioned how it was possible for Peter to evade countless eyes watching his every move. Thousands of assassins hunted him, yet no one had managed to locate or kill him. Peter's voice carried an air of unshakable confidence as he revealed his secret. The Peter they were all searching for no longer existed. The masked man's cryptic words left the injured man in shock, moments before a gunshot rang out, plunging the scene into darkness. 3 months earlier, the story shifted to a humble bookshop. A concerned voice chided an older man, Mr. Bay, for neglecting his health. A doctor had warned him that his days were numbered if he didn't seek medical attention. But Mr. Bay, unbothered, dismissed the warnings. He had spent his entire life facing death, dedicating 50 years of service to the organization. Reflecting on his past, he admitted he had no regrets, having lived a life of purpose and resilience. As he pondered his life, a wistful realization struck him: he had never taken a photograph of himself. One day, a young girl entered the bookshop and greeted Mr. Bay shyly. She explained she was looking for middle school textbooks. Mr. Bay welcomed her with a wry remark, saying they sold every book available except for the ones they didn't have. With a chuckle, he mentioned they carried textbooks spanning decades, from the 1960s to 2020, and even by country. The girl hesitated and asked if he had used textbooks, as she was on a tight budget. Mr. Bay showed her the latest editions, asking which ones she needed. She mentioned they were for her younger sibling, and he immediately deduced she was a senior from the local high school. Surprised, she asked how he knew so much. Mr. Bay revealed he knew everyone in the neighborhood, his knowledge apparent even from details like her name tag color. However, as she browsed, she admitted she only had 1,001, not nearly enough to buy all the books she needed. Mr. Bay smiled and offered to give her the books for free, saying he no longer needed them. When she protested, he opened the books, breaking their seals, and declared they were now used. He looked at her kindly, noting the love and dedication in her eyes for her sibling. He advised her to cherish them and be good to them while she still had the chance, warning that otherwise she might one day live with regret. His words hung in the air, leaving the girl deeply touched by his generosity and wisdom. The girl hesitated, fumbling over how to address Mr. Bay, cycling through Grandpa Ajusi and other awkward titles before he gently suggested she simply call him Mr. Gathering her courage, she asked if he had ever regretted something in his life. Mr. Bay, with a calm yet wistful demeanor, reflected that the longer one lived, the more regrets they accumulated. However, he added that regrets were futile. What was done could never be undone. In his mind, flashes of a haunting memory surfaced. A desperate decision made long ago, an act meant to save his daughter's life. He quickly pushed the thought away, focusing on the girl before him. He advised her to always take care of her younger sibling and avoid choices that might lead to future regrets. Unbeknownst to him, or so she thought, the girl clutched a knife, her intent to attack him clear. But Mr. Bay's calm words stunned her. He told her to turn back and leave, assuring her he wouldn't kill her if she did. Shocked, she wondered how he had discerned her plan. Mr. Bay explained that he had memorized the faces of every student from her high school, but something about her didn't align. The school, he pointed out, had only existed for 2 years. Her claim to be a senior didn't add up. She felt herself unravel under his gaze. Mr. Bay remarked that decades of experience had trained him to sense even the faintest whiff of blood. Her knife, poorly concealed under a cheap perfume, had betrayed her. Realizing his game, the girl understood that he had been toying with her from the start, unraveling her plan step by step. As the tension thickened, she gripped the knife tighter, her thoughts racing. Though she held the weapon, the power dynamic felt entirely reversed. For reasons she couldn't explain, it seemed that if anyone were to die, it would be her, not him. The atmosphere in the bookshop thickened as Mr. Bay handed the textbooks to the girl, telling her to take them. He acknowledged her genuine concern for her younger sibling, noting he could discern sincerity in someone's eyes. Then, he revealed something that made her freeze. She was from the Glory Orphanage, just like he had been. Their scripted stories hadn't changed in decades, and it seemed she was still untrained in fully hiding her intent. With a tone both calm and foreboding, he explained that in their organization, if their voluntary service failed, they always initiated Plan B. Before the girl could process his words, chaos erupted. A group of men stormed the shop, guns blazing. Mr. Bay moved with surprising agility, pushing the girl aside and shielding her from a hail of bullets. He was struck, but his expression remained defiant. As the dust settled, one of the attackers pointed a gun at the girl, while another gloated over Bay's injury. The group's leader, a man known as the Eight-Legged Man, mocked the so-called legend Peter, claiming he was no match for disease and age. The taunts didn't faze Bay, who demanded answers. He wanted to know why they were trying to kill him. The Eight-Legged Man smirked, explaining that their boss didn't like him and that his death would unleash thousands of hunters upon his trail. Despite his wounds, his sharp wit and unyielding spirit remained unbroken, even in the face of betrayal and looming death. The Eight-Legged Man sneered at Bay, reveling in the cruel irony of his situation. The fortune Bay had painstakingly saved throughout a lifetime of risk and sacrifice would now fall into someone else's hands. Mocking him further, the attacker expressed how lucky the recipient of that bounty would be. With a dark grin, he declared his intention to claim the money by killing Bay himself. Bay, weakened but defiant, was then punched brutally by the men. They jeered, accusing him of complicating matters. One of them shouted that Bay should have quietly prepared his coffin and laid in it instead of resisting. With another savage blow, they threw him hard against the ground. One of the attackers assumed Bay was unconscious, disappointed that the legendary Peter had been defeated so easily. Another ordered the group to clean up, dismissing the fight as anticlimactic. But as they approached to finish him off, Bay revealed his cunning. In a flash, he tossed a small device, a flashbang, blinding and disorienting the men. When the light cleared, Bay was gone. Panic spread among the attackers as they realized he had lured them into tossing him near the back door. Cursing, the Eight-Legged Man barked orders to find him, assuming the injured Bay couldn't have gotten far given the severity of his wounds. In the dim light of a secluded park, Bay slumped against a bench, his breathing ragged and uneven. Blood seeped through his clothes, marking the trail he had taken to escape. He muttered to himself, lamenting how age had caught up with him. He couldn't even fight back properly anymore. Each gasping breath was a reminder of his fragility, a stark contrast to the legendary killer he had once been. Reflecting on his life, Bay's thoughts turned bitter. The organization had been his entire world. While others his age held pencils, he had bled every day learning to wield a knife. When his peers were mastering social networks, he had pushed himself to the brink, perfecting wiretapping and eavesdropping, his ears bleeding from the strain. While others went on dates and learned about love, he had lived as a Russian spy, enduring frostbite in the unforgiving cold. When others started families and settled into normal lives, he had fought tooth and nail for survival in terrorist camps. Every breath he had taken, every decision he had made, had been for the organization, but the world had shifted beneath his feet. When the new boss took over, loyalty and sacrifice no longer held the same weight. Despite Bay's decades of service and his sterling reputation as Peter, the organization had deemed him outdated. His supposed sickness and softness made him expendable. His efforts, his sacrifices, everything he had given for them, were discarded without hesitation. As he clutched his wounds, his thoughts spiraled. He had never wished for wealth or honor, only to serve a purpose. But now, He questioned if his life had always been this pathetic. Was it all for nothing? The betrayal stung deeper than his wounds, and a guttural laugh escaped him, bitter and hollow. Through his pain, a flicker of resolve ignited. They shouldn't have done this, not to him. He refused to let his life end in disgrace, his hard-earned money stolen by those who betrayed him. This money was his lifeline, perhaps his redemption. Clutching his side, he struggled to stay conscious. Alone in the park, with the night pressing in, he silently vowed that he wouldn't die, not like this. In the dimly lit hideout of the eight-legged man, two henchmen were locked in a heated conversation. One of them cursed their failure to catch Bei, fuming at the lost opportunity for the colossal 7.6 billion won bounty. The other laughed, questioning why so much money was being offered to kill a dying old man. Despite their grievances, they acknowledged the respect owed to a legend like Peter, even if it was grudging. One of the men, a former kickboxing champion, boasted about giving up his title to hunt Peter. His determination burned as he declared his intent to kill the old man himself and rise to fame and fortune. Their exchange was interrupted when a third figure appeared before them, dressed in the same outfit as Bei. Startled, the men initially thought it was Peter. One of them exclaimed in shock, only for the other to realize it wasn't him. The stranger, visibly injured, stumbled forward, clutching his side. He murmured that he had no idea how he ended up like this, his voice strained with pain and confusion. The two henchmen exchanged glances, their initial tension shifting to disbelief. One of them dismissed the stranger as a mistaken identity. He pointed out that this hideout wasn't a place for a random person to wander into, especially not a young man like him. They regarded the stranger with mild annoyance, unsure whether he was simply lost or part of something more sinister. The tension in the room remained palpable as they weighed the implications of his sudden appearance. The injured man stood firm in the face of the eight-legged man's henchman, exuding an unyielding presence. His battered appearance was deceptive, masking the raw power and skill that had yet to be unleashed. When he demanded to meet the eight-legged man, his voice carried an air of authority that immediately unsettled the henchmen. One of them lunged, throwing a powerful punch. Yet, to their shock, the injured man caught it midair with a grip like iron. The sheer strength left the attacker dumbfounded, his confidence crumbling as the man retaliated with a bone-rattling punch that sent him flying. Another henchman, armed with a knife, tried his luck, but the injured man disarmed and incapacitated him with terrifying precision. In the chaos, the remaining henchman demanded answers, his voice shaking. "Who sent you?" The injured man's response was cryptic yet chilling. "Those who have mastered cutlery are third class. Those who master all weapons are second class." When asked who the first class was, he smirked. "First class uses anything and everything as a weapon." Before their eyes, the man wrapped an octopus leg around his hand, a move so bizarre it bordered on surreal. One of the henchmen rushed forward in disbelief, only to be ensnared and hurled into a cauldron of boiling soup. The incapacitated man lay unconscious, his arrogance shattered alongside his body. As the smoke cleared, the injured man held up a photograph of Bei, an image of his older self. He gazed at it solemnly. "This is the only picture you guys have of my face?" he said. "I, Peter, a man once hailed as the best in the field, have been given a second chance." He turned his steely gaze to the room, the flicker of youth visible in his eyes. "The Peter you're looking for, the old Peter, is already dead. What stands before you now is Peter, rejuvenated." The aura around him shifted, signaling the start of a new chapter for a legend reborn.